All right, welcome second grade to another video with Mr. McGill. Today we're going to be doing a fish inspired by the Brazilian pop artist Romero Britto, who actually lives in the US in Miami, Florida. To start this picture, you're going to need a whole piece of paper, and we're going to work landscape, right? So with our paper, not this way, but turned this way. Unfortunately, to start, we're going to actually turn our paper this way just to get our shapes right. But our fish is actually going to swim like this. So to start with the fish's lips, we're going to use a shape that all of you probably know, and it's a heart. So I want you to go ahead and draw a heart towards the top of your paper. So if you notice, I've got my paper turned sideways, and we're starting with a heart. So now we're going to flip it like this, and that's actually going to be our fish's mouth. So the thing with Romero Britto is that he used big, simple shapes, lots of black outline, and of course that really colorful pattern that makes his work so unique. So if you haven't checked out the video about Romero Britto, please be sure to do that before you start your project. Next, I'm going to do two lines, and we're going to keep it very similar. So we're going to do the top and the bottom the same. The first one is like a rainbow, and it goes all the way to here. Okay, so the second one, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do it the opposite way, so like a smiley face. So we're not gonna connect them here because we need to leave some room for our tail. And that's gonna be a curve up and a curve down. Now to make this shape, we're gonna kind of think of our wavy lines, right? So you guys remember all the different types of lines, and this one's kind of wavy. So I know sometimes we think of this, but that's more of a curvy line. This is a wavy line because it looks like waves. So we're gonna take our fish and we're gonna go 1, 2, okay? So there's our fish's tail. The other thing that Romero Britto liked to do was section off his subject matter with lines so that he could fill those spaces with more of that colorful pattern that he's recognized for. So we're gonna make some extra spaces. These are actually parts to the fish. So you're gonna make one line that goes like this, and another line that's shorter that goes like that. And we're gonna use the same line that we did for his tail. So watch this. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's kind of like his dorsal fin. And then of course we need to add a flipper, right, for the side so that he doesn't swim in a straight line. He can turn. We're gonna go 1, 2, and then keep it the same. 1, 2, 3, oh, I can fit a little one there. So now that we have our fish, we're gonna make some sections. Don't forget his eyeball. So we're gonna make a nice big eyeball. And I like to use a Pac-Man shape for his eye. So watch this. We're gonna make a letter C, and then we're gonna kind of make a sideways V, okay? We're also gonna put a line in between his lips. And then this part, you can use whatever lines you like to section your fish off. So I'm gonna make one there. I'm gonna make a straight line here. And I think I'm gonna make a zigzag line here. I'm also now going to make kind of a V shape for his tail. And then I'm gonna curve a line to that point, to this point, and to that point. So now that we have all the sections of our fish, we need to remember that Romero Britto style, which is a thick black outline. So I'm gonna use a crayon. If you have a Sharpie at home or a marker, you can use that too. And you're just gonna trace what you already drew, okay? So if you can draw it once, you certainly can draw it twice. And you've got a line to follow this time. So we're going to cover the whole pencil line that we created. Get it completely covered. If you don't get exactly on the line, it's not a big deal. You can always use the video I showed you about Romero Britto to get some ideas for some of his patterns, if you want to use some of his, or just to get some ideas of how you're going to color your fish. But we shouldn't be using just flat color for the whole thing. Okay, we want to make sure that we use pattern. So pattern is something that repeats. It goes over and over again. So some of his spaces he left white with just a color pattern. And so that's what I'm going to do. So this space here, I think I'm going to do blue dots. So you can see some of them are not full dots. They get cut off, right? We talked about cropping. And then some are full circles. So use a few of both and it will look much more like a repeating pattern. So I'm going to color those in. If you have your ideas for coloring and you want to go ahead and stop the video or fast forward just to see the end result, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm not going to worry about the background space. I'm going to leave that white, but I don't want to do that for all of my patterns because then it'll look really silly. We want to use a lot of bright colors. Sometimes it might help to draw your pattern in first. So I'm going to do some orange and magenta stripes here. So I'm going to use lines, but I'm only going to do them in pencil just so that I know where to color. So that might be helpful for you. And then I'm going to get my orange. It's really more like a yellow orange. And I'm going to color every other stripe orange. Leaving a white stripe for my magenta color, okay? And if you color right up to that pencil line with your magenta, it shouldn't show through as much. So now I've got my magenta. I'm gonna go right to the edge and fill it in, okay? So make sure that whatever colors you're gonna use, you try and use some nice bright colors. All right, that was his style. And don't forget, again, your black outlines, okay? So those are really important if you want to make it look like Romero Britto's. So I've got 2 of my sections filled in. I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, so I've got a lot of spaces to fill in. You don't have to watch for the whole thing. I will put a picture of this at the end of the video or attach it to your assignment details so that you can see a finished one. But try and use a lot of variety. That means not using the same thing, but switching it so that you have a lot of different things. So I'm going to treat his little lips here like 2 different sections. So I'm going to do the top lime green and the bottom more of a red. Okay. So there's his lips. I think I'm going to use some purple now and a dark green. And I think the purple is going to be his fin up here. All right, so I know I said don't use a lot of areas of flat color, so choose a few. You can see I chose some small ones and this fin because small areas are kind of hard to get a pattern in. But big wide open areas like this, you want to try and choose a pattern if you can. So I think for this area, I'm going to do some wavy lines with green. So I'm just gonna connect some, almost looks like seaweed. And then I'm gonna use yellow. And for the yellow, I think I'm going to do lines inside some of those spaces. Okay, so again, you can use flat color pattern. I'm just gonna fill in some of the spaces with yellow lines. Actually, I think I'm gonna fill in all the spaces with yellow lines. And then I'm gonna add some dots between some. Okay, so you can choose which ones. So I'm gonna go every other space. Okay. So now that I have that, I'm going to work with the tail. And remember, you can always put one color over another. It helps though if you choose a darker color first. So I'm going to do some orange. And then I'm going to do some black triangles. Okay, so just mix it up. Try your best to use a lot of variety, but also work at coloring neatly too. So maybe some blue over the top. He used a lot of stripes because he could use tape, right, to mask the paint so that it was nice and straight. And I just have these last few spaces. So I think somewhere else needs to be a flat color. And so I'm just gonna choose here and use just a flat green. I don't have a whole lot of different colors of crayons here, so I'm kind of working with what I have. You might have a lot of variety, so you can work differently. Okay, so for time's sake, I'm just gonna stop the video after I fill in these spaces and continue on, so that way you guys can go ahead and get started and it won't be as long of a video, and I'll show you my end result once I'm finished. Hope you guys enjoyed. I can't wait to see what you create. Bye.